Hi, in this video, let me show you how AI can perform automated malware analysis. Before we do that, let me give you the context. So the AI application that I'll be using for this task is Claude Desktop. Specifically, I'll use Claude Cowork. So what I've done is I've created a malware analysis tool named Argus, and I've given LLM access to this tool. Okay, so now we can ask the AI application to analyze the malware for us. Before we do that, let's do manual analysis of the malware. So the malware that we'll be analyzing is HRS.exe. So let's do a manual analysis and try to determine the behavior of this malware. And then we'll ask AI application to analyze the malware for us. So to analyze the malware manually, so what I'll do is I'll copy this malware sample inside the Windows virtual machine. So this is the virtual machine where I will be executing the malware sample. So this is where I'll be executing the malware sample. Before we execute, I will also simulate various services. There is a Linux VM. In that Linux VM, I'm simulating various services using inetsim. Notice it's simulating various services. The idea is that when I execute the malware sample and malware requests for any service, appropriate response will be given by inetsim. That's the idea. Also, before executing the sample, we'll also capture the traffic so that we can capture the network traffic generated by the malware. Okay, so we'll start the capture. Now we will execute the malware sample. I'll run with admin privilege. Okay, so when I do that, notice the malware created a service. And also, notice when I executed the malware sample, the malware resolved the domain mail.upgoogle.com, which is a typo squatting domain, and it resolved to this IP address. Okay. And after resolving, it communicated on port 80, that is HTTP. Okay. So let's look at the TCP stream. And you see that it made a post request to that command and control domain. And also it is sending system information to the attacker. So it is sending my hostname information to the command and control server. So here Diablo is the host name of the system where I executed the malware sample. We show that. If I run hostname command, you see Diablo is the host name of the system where I executed the malware sample. Okay. Also, let's look at the process listing from Process Hacker tool. And you see that this HRS.exe is running and it is running as a service. So this is what we know so far about the malware sample. Okay, so I've deliberately chosen a very simple sample for the sake of demonstration. Okay, so this was manual analysis. Now what I'll do is I will power off both the virtual machines, power off Windows virtual machine as well as the Linux virtual machine. Okay, power off both of them. Okay, and also close the VMware workstation. Now what we'll do is we will ask the AI application to analyze the malware for us. So now this is the prompt that I'll be giving the AI application. Okay, I'm asking it to run this hrs.exe, which is on my desktop and I'm asking it to run for 5 seconds. So you can ask it to run for more time as well, but just to keep the video short, I'm asking it to run for 5 seconds. So when I give this prompt, what will happen is, let me tell you what will happen. It will take this sample. It will revert the Linux VM and the Windows VM to the clean snapshot. It will start those VMs. Then it will also simulate various services. It will start the network capture. It will transfer this sample to the virtual machine. Then it will execute that sample for 5 seconds. And then it will stop various services like the simulation that it started and the network capture. And then it will collect all the artifacts and generate a report. That's what it's going to do. You will see that is in action. Okay, so let's give this prompt and see what it does. Okay. So when I give this prompt, notice it's trying to determine what are the different tools that it has. For example, notice it determined that it has a tool called the Argus malware analysis tool. So now it will use that tool. And also notice it is preparing the steps that it is going to perform. Notice it is preparing the list of steps that it's going to take to analyze the malware. Okay. So now once that is done, it will start performing each and every task. You see here, for now it is telling me that I'm going to revert the Linux VM to the clean snapshot. Okay. So now you can either allow for all tasks or you can allow for this task. I want to see what it does. So I'll allow for this task. When I do that, it will revert the Linux VM. Now it is asking me to allow this task where it is going to revert the Windows VM. Now it's going to it reverted both VMs. Now it's going to start both the virtual machines. So now it's going to start the Linux VM. If I allow this task, notice what will happen is it will start the Linux VM. You see, it automatically popped up the Linux VM. Done. Linux VM is done. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll allow. Next is asking me to start the Windows VM. If you allow that, it will now start the Windows VM. As you can see, it automatically popped up this Windows virtual machine. Okay. Now notice we have both the Windows VM and the Linux VM running. Now it is waiting for the Windows VM to boot up, and now it is going to transfer the sample to the Windows VM. It's asking me to allow this tool. Say yes. Now it should transfer the malware sample to the Windows machine. It is transferred. Now it is telling it's going to start the network capture and simulate the services. First, it's going to start the service simulation. Allow it. And now it should start the simulation. Once it starts the simulation, it should start the network capture. Okay. Now notice, now it is starting the network capture. Now once that is done, notice both are started. Now it's going to execute the sample for 5 seconds. Okay. So if we allow, it will start executing the malware sample in the Windows virtual machine for 5 seconds. And then what it will do is it will stop all the services, collect all the artifacts, and then it will generate a report. Okay. So let's wait for it to run the sample for 5 seconds. Notice the execution is complete. Now it is moving on to the cleanup phase where it is going to stop all the simulation. Notice it stopped the network capture, stop the service simulation. Let's allow that. Yeah. So once that is done, it is stopping the network capture, stopping the simulation. Then it is collecting all the Windows artifacts and the packet capture. Let's allow that. Okay. So I'm just allowing for this task. You can ask it to allow always. Okay. Then it is going to shut down both the VMs. See, now it's going to stop the Windows VM. We'll allow it. And now notice it is suspending the Windows virtual machine. Once that is done, let us let it suspend. Once that is done, once that is done, it's telling it's going to suspend the Linux VM. So notice it suspended the Linux VM as well. Okay. Now what happens is now it will read all the artifacts that it collected and it will start generating the report. Okay. So now it is reading all the artifacts and now it should start generating the report in the markdown format. Notice now it is creating a report, and then let's wait for it to create the report and then we will look at the report. Looks like it created. Yeah. So it says report is done. It is giving me the report. Also, it giving me the key findings. Okay. So we look at the report in some time, but if you look at the key findings, it's saying HRS.exe is a RAT or a downloader, and it is running itself as a service, which is correct. And also it's telling that it beaconed out to mail.upgoogle.com, a typo-squatted domain impersonating Google, correct, which resolves to command and control server, which is this IP on port 80. Okay. Then it's telling no child process were created and so on. And here is the report. This is the malware reports folder on my desktop. Okay. So you see it's on my desktop malware reports folder. Under that, it created this report. This is the report it created. And also it collected the packet capture. Okay. We'll look at the packet capture in some time. Let's look at the report. This is the report that it created. It's telling you that HRS.exe is running as a service, Windows service, and it made a DNS lookup to mail.upgoogle.com, which is a typo-squatted domain designed to impersonate Google. That is correct. And it established a TCP connection to this particular IP on port 80. Okay. Which is an HTTP-based communication. That is correct. And also it determined the capabilities, which is it's launched by services.exe. Then it communicates to this domain and it establishes a HTTP connection to this IP address and so on. Okay, so that's what we saw. And also notice it automatically mapped all the events to the MITRE attack techniques. Okay, so in the script, in the tool, I have not given any signature to map it to the MITRE techniques, but it automatically mapped the events to the MITRE techniques. Okay, then it also determined the indicators of the compromise. You see, this is the indicator, the domain indicator. This is the IP address. So these are the indicators, and this is the process tree because this HRS.exe did not create any child process. There is no tree as such. Okay, and also this is the event timeline. This is the raw events. Okay. So if you see this, hrs.exe loaded itself into the memory, then services.exe started HRS. That tells you that it is running as a service, because whenever a binary is running as a service, it is services.exe that will start that process. And then notice once this process is started, hrs.exe performs a DNS query to this typo squatted domain, and it resolves to this IP address. And once it resolves to this IP address, hrs.exe made a network connection to this IP address on port 80. Okay. So, and it's here showing the network activity. Okay. As you can see, this is how the AI application was able to execute our tool and generate a report. Okay. Also, let's look at the packet capture. Okay. So this is the capture as a result of executing the malware sample. So let's look at that. And you see there was a communication to mail.google.com, which resolved to this IP address. And then it communicated on port 80. Again, if you look at the TCP stream, you see the same thing that we saw earlier. It makes a post request to the command and control domain. It sends the system information. Okay. Yes. So as you can see how AI was able to analyze the malware sample and generate a report. Okay. So that was about the AI-driven malware analysis. If you're interested in AI-driven threat hunting, the link to my video is in the description below. And also, in case if you want to learn malware analysis, memory forensics, threat hunting, or if you're interested in understanding the concept behind AI-driven threat hunting or AI-driven malware analysis, then you may be interested in our upcoming trainings. So we are conducting training at various conferences. We are conducting training at Black Hat USA, DEF CON USA, and other conferences. The details and the registration links for those trainings are in the description below. If you are interested, you can register for the training. And with that, I've almost come to the end. In future, I will try to make more videos. Thank you for watching.